You don't need thousands of dollars or fancy security systems to keep your home safe. In fact, for less than $100, you can make upgrades that drastically increase your home security. Today, I'll show you the best home security upgrades for under $100 that actually work and will keep you on budget. The truth is, burglars look for the easiest target. By adding these low-cost upgrades, you'll make your home harder to break into, and most criminals will move on to an easier home. I'm David, and I have been trying to be prepared for whatever life throws at me for a very, very long time, and I've spent a lot of money to try and keep my wife and kids safe. Some of that was a complete waste, but I've learned a lot and have some great products and ideas for you today. If you end up enjoying this video, please do all that fun YouTube stuff. It really does help the channel out. The first line of defense is always keeping the intruders out. Strong doors, reinforced locks, lights, cameras, all the things that we're going to be talking about today. But here's the reality. No security setup is perfect. If someone is determined enough and they have enough time, they will get in. Your job is to buy yourself enough time to react, time to call for help, time to get your family to safety. And if all else fails, you need to be mentally and physically prepared to defend your home. Security gear delays threats, but your planning, training, and mental readiness are the last line of defense. All right, so the first things we have on the list to talk about tonight is door reinforcement. Now, that can range anywhere from $8 or $9 for simple stuff all the way up to about $50. So let me show you a couple of things that I think that you need to consider. Now, when you're doing this, you've got to consider, is your front door got a regular, a tumble lock and a deadbolt, or is it like a normal residential lock and a deadbolt? Is it just a deadbolt with a thumb thing that you push and the thumb thing opens up? You got to figure out how what your entry points are when you're talking about door security. So obviously your front doors is this key one. Sliding doors, basement back doors, stuff like that. So if you're looking at like a violent home invasion, that's probably coming through the front door. If you're looking for a burglar in the night, it's probably going to be a basement back door, a sliding glass door. It just depends. So, but you need to consider all those when you're looking at different doors. So this door reinforcement is primarily for like a standard front door or a side door into your house. So this first item for just about $13, $14 is just a door reinforcement plate that actually mounts over your door. So you pull your locks off, you slide this over it, you screw it in, and then you reattach the actual locking mechanism into your door. And this is the door part. Now there's the striker plate on the other side of the door, which we'll get to in just a minute. But this would be your first thing. Now they have these in like a double configuration, so you have your deadbolt and your regular residential I don't even know what they're called, the regular doorknob, but they actually stack them, and so you have double as well. Now, as I mentioned, securing the door side of the entry is one part, but actually reinforcing the striker plate on the door frame is equally important. Now, this particular one, $16, and this is an example of where they're stacked. So you've got the deadbolt probably on top and your residential lock on bottom. But just like the reinforcement plate I showed you earlier, this can actually be a single one depending on what your lock configuration is. But for about $30, you can reinforce your front door to be pretty strong. Now, if you are doing the reinforcement plates on your door and your door jamb, totally cool. That's a great thing to do. Now, if you don't want to go that far, maybe that's just not something you want to do. You can get something like this, which is the reinforcement door screws for like $10. And what it's going to do is instead of normally when you mount like the striker plate onto your door frame, if you've ever seen those screws, they're about maybe 3/4 of an inch long, and they're really just to hold the plate in place. They're not great for security. If you get something like this though, they're 3 inches long and they're going to sink all the way through the door jamb into the actual the framing behind the door frame. If you can actually sink these 3 inches way all the way deep in there, it's going to make it much harder to kick that door open than otherwise. But again, if you combine the long screws with the reinforced door plate on the door and the reinforced striker plate, now you're talking about a door that's going to be very hard to kick open. again, the whole goal is just to slow them down to give you and your family time to react, whether it's get up, get some sort of defensive thing going on, if you know what I'm saying, or, obviously calling the police is a great step. If somebody's kicking in your door with malice intent, they're going to get into your house probably before the police can get there, and a lot can happen in even the best case 4 or 5 minute response time. The last item in the door reinforcement to show you though is this. It's a door stopper, and basically it's a security bar that you mount under the doorknob. And this is really good for like French doors. So if you've got double French doors, for example, putting these on the inside, so if somebody tries to push, what it does is it braces that door. And so when they push, and it drives the door up. And so the door actually ends up being driven into the top of the frame, and it makes it very, very hard to open. Now, the next things we're going to talk about all deal with your windows. Now, it's important, obviously, to close and lock your windows. I know sometimes it's nice on a nice autumn, a nice September, October night to crack the windows and let the cool breeze in. But again, if you've secured your doors, windows are an obvious place for a burglar or somebody to try to get in. So you want to secure those as best as you can. And this category, we're really talking 10 to maybe 30, 40, 50 bucks. Now, again, this can be a per window cost. So you're going to want to prioritize ground level windows, windows that are hidden from street view, stuff like that. So burglars, they know when they're going to try to break into a window, it might take them a little time. They might have to shatter something. And if it's obvious from the street that the window is shattered or they're doing something, that obviously is not ideal for them. So again, keep focus on the windows that are the backside of your house, that are covered by bushes or trees or shrubberies or not visible from the road in some way. And then there's a couple things we're going to talk about. Now, the first is window locks. These things are super simple, about $10, and it comes with like 10 of them or something. It comes with a bunch of them, and you basically just thumb screw them in. They are not foolproof. A determined attacker could, pop these things off with enough force, but the goal is to slow them down. Now, the next item on the list is window security film. It's about $34, $35, and this is for what let me look over at my notes, a 13-foot by 24-inch roll of it, and you can just apply this yourself. Where would you want to put this? One is if you've got glass around your front door. So, sometimes you got the like inlaid glass inside the door, stuff like that. That's a great place to put this kind of stuff. Again, windows that are on the ground level, windows that are hidden from view, like French door, for example, like the little squares on the French door. If a burglar or somebody wants to break in and they just shatter one of those little squares, not too loud, it's not too noticeable, and then they can just reach in, undo the locks, and potentially get in if your doorknobs are set up that way. All right, and the last item in the window section is for sliding doors. I know it's technically door, but it's, you can use this same, they have the same kind of things, but they're basically window bars, and you can put them along the ground of your sliding door, off your back balcony, for example. You can actually, they have them to put into, you can actually fit them into windows. They have them sized for windows, so you can actually create a jamb so that there's really no way to lift it up without knocking that bar out of the way. But again, they could shatter the glass, push the bar out of the way, and open it. So if you combine the security film on the glass with the bar, now you're talking about something that's going to be much more noisy, much more loud, and much more difficult to bypass quickly. The next thing we're talking about is lighting. Burglars, violent criminals that want to invade your home and do terrible things, they don't like light. Now, light in and of themselves isn't going to scare them away, but the more light you can put into your yard or into your doorstep, et cetera, the better. One, you can look out and see what's going on. And two, they are now visible to your neighbors, to your security systems, etc. These that I have here right now, these are installed. So these actually are wired into your home and powered by your home. I'll show you some solar option I recommend in just a minute. $35, so they're not particularly expensive. But you do have the installation costs to deal with. Now, if you already have the wiring, it's not bad. If you don't have the wiring, frankly, I would just go with the solar options. Yes, they die over time. The solar panels get dirty. etc. over time, and you have to replace them more often. But this particular one, again, these are motion sensor lights, so you can, they have a certain range, basically turn on and they'll stay on for 60 seconds or 2 minutes. A lot of them have different settings. You can actually set what the boundaries are for how long they stay on once they're on. Really, it's just something simple. It's not particularly expensive, and one, it's really nice when you're like coming home late at night and everything's dark. If you have some motion sensing floodlights that as you drive up, the lights turn on, and now all of a sudden, if there was somebody in the bushes, potentially you can see them. You can see what's happening around you much more easily than if you pull up to a dark house with no lights on outside. These are the solar ones. These are actually cheaper, but they do die. And what I mean by that is usually after a couple of years, most of the outdoor solar lights that I've used, they have to be replaced every 2 or 3 years. Maybe you've had better luck than I have, but generally what happens is the solar panels just get a lot of grit and grime on them, and potentially I guess you could clean them, and the batteries start to lose charge. So what ends up happening is after a couple of years, when they do turn on, they tend to not last through the night. So what'll happen is usually 3, 4, 5 in the morning, if they've been set off a couple times, they just don't have enough battery to keep going, so you have to replace them. Otherwise, for $30 for 2 of them, one over your garage, one off your back deck, all right? Maybe one over the front 2 corners toward the middle of your front door, something like that. It'd be super, super awesome. All right, next up, we're talking actual home security systems, and this is by far the most expensive part of this whole process. I mean, I guess if you have a ton of exterior doors, a ton of suspect windows, you might spend a lot of money on those types of things, but really the single big dollar items are going to be a security system. Now you can go with Simply Safe, Ring, whatever. I don't have any kind of paid sponsorship with anybody. The ones I've used in the past that I have experience with are the ones I'm going to show you tonight, and Google's Nest. I got away from Nest once Google bought them, but otherwise, and since then I've been using these Eufy's system, and I've loved it. Now, what I'm going to show you now is kind of like standalone pieces. You can get a whole, a home base with all the outdoor cameras and all the indoor cameras and everything else you want to do, and it all goes through the app. Or you can just get 1 camera or 2 cameras, run it through the app, and plug in some SD cards in them so you get some playback, etc. And they're kind of standalone. They're really, really great systems. I've been using them for a couple of years now, and I really like them. This particular one I don't own. I wanted to stay under $99, and this is going to give you a lot of what you're kind of looking for. So one, it's solar powered, so you don't have to actually wire it into a plug. And that's really helpful if you're trying to put this into like at the top corner of a high place and it's not wired, or over the front door, over the garage, wherever you want to put it. Having to actually run wiring can be really drive up the expense. And this is trying to be simple, easy to do. Again, this, you just mount it on there. The solar panel will power the system. This particular one, it's 2K, so you can actually see things really well. If it's anything like the ones I have, you can see things in almost pitch black. It's got great infrared and night vision kind of capability. And again, then you have it wired up to your phone. Not wired, but it's hooked up to your phone. And then you can get notifications from the app. It will sense people. You can actually, the Eufy systems, you can train them to recognize faces. So you don't get notifications when it's you or your spouse or your kids. But if it's a stranger, it'll pop up an alert. You can make the alerts loud, quiet, whatever. Really, really capable system. Again, $99 for 1 camera. There's other options. There's other companies. It can be super simple, like something like this. Get 2 of these things, run it through the free app. You're good to go. All the way up to professional home security systems monitored by ADT, whatever kind of thing. So instead of paying the expense of an outdoor camera that's got the whole solar panel and the panning and tilting and all the fancy features, which are really, really cool, you can just get one of these and then mount it inside your house and then run it to a plug inside your house. These aren't solar, you have to plug them in, and just aim them out your window. Now, these last 2 things are kind of chintzy and they're kind of silly, but they may help, they may work. And that is just put a sign in your yard that says you have a security system, right? Obviously, if you have a security system and they can see the security system, it's an outdoor system and it's sitting above your door, that's helpful. But if you put the sign up, you put some stickers in your window, it might help a little bit. I mean, burglars, violent felons, they realize that, you know, stickers can be bought on Amazon for cheap, but for just a couple bucks, $20 for the signs, even less for the stickers, it might deter somebody. And again, if you combine the stickers, cameras, door reinforcement, window reinforcement, and then obviously lastly, the ability to protect yourself in case they get through all that before the police can get there. Because again, almost all violent home invasions are over before the police get there. At the end of the day, security isn't about building an impenetrable fortress. It's about stacking layer upon layer of protection that make your home a harder target, give you more time to react, and keep your family safe. For under $100, you can massively upgrade your doors, lights, windows, and locks. And remember, prevention is always the priority, but you still need to plan for when prevention fails. Security is about defense. Deter and delay on the outside, prepare and defend on the inside. Start with one or two of these upgrades this week and you'll already be helping your family be safe. Because your security doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be smart. If you found this helpful, hit that like button, drop a comment on which upgrades you're going to be tracking first, and subscribe for more practical preparedness tips from this channel. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.